Hi out there in Freeman land. So many people are having trouble with the accepted for value, trying to pay their bills and that. I thought I'd put together a small presentation to see if we could demystify it a little bit and help you on your way to paying those bills. So it comes from two main acts, the Stamp Duty Act and the Bills of Exchange Act. So we need to go to several sources just to find out what is going on this. And one of the easiest ways to find out the meaning of words is to go to Bovier's Law Dictionary. That's the address line for it there. So if you type that into your browser, you're going to come up with Bovier's Law Dictionary, and we're going to look at what stamp means. We do use several other sources in this, including the Acts and Butterworth's Law Dictionary. So whichever one is applicable to your country, this is applicable to New Zealand. Just go online, use Google, and you'll find the things. Now, the first thing we're going to find here is that stamp straight out means revenue. Very interesting that, isn't it? An impression made on paper by order of the government, which must be used in reducing certain contracts to writing for the purpose of raising a revenue. They tell you what they're doing straight away there. If you put a stamp on, you're actually raising revenue. So that gives us a bit of a clue to what's going to happen next. Now, here's another source that we're using, Investopedia. There's the address line for it there. Just copy and swipe that, or just do a Google on Investopedia and you'll find that. But in this one, we got a definition of stamp duty. The tax placed on legal documents, usually in the transfer of assets or property. This duty is customary in the Commonwealth of nation countries, including Singapore and Australia and certain states in the United States. Where enforced, this tax is placed on the transfer of homes, buildings, copyrights, land, I didn't highlight land there, patents and securities. Okay, we're all three of those, land, patents and securities. The transfer of documents in locations where this law exists is only legally enforceable once they are stamped, which shows the amount of tax paid, also referred to as a stamp tax. Okay, now we are land, we have been patented, and we are securities. So what they're doing is transferring our assets or property with stamp duty. So we need to go a bit deeper into this, and we'll look at what Butterworth's New Zealand Law Dictionary says. It says stamp duty, a tax paid on certain documents or transactions. The Stamp and Check Duties Act 1971, Section 10, provided for the imposition of a stamp duty in respect of conveyances and leases of land. There's another way. We are leasing our own land. And conveyances of shares in a flat or office-owning company. However, the Stamp and Duty Abolition Act 1999 abolished stamp duty on instruments executed after the 20th of May 1999. Well, that's what that act says, but is that the actual things? We're going to have a look at the Stamp and Check Duties Act 1971. Now, it's quite interesting that just about everything in this act is repealed, as per what Butterworth says, except for this section. There's a couple of other sections too, but minor compared to this one, and this is the imposition of check duty. So let's dive a little bit deeper into there. Section 77 says check duty payable unless otherwise provided by this Act or pursuant to any enactment mentioned in Schedule 1 or by any local or private act. Check duty shall be paid to the Crown on every bill of exchange made or drawn after the commencement of this Act. Okay, now this is what we're going to be dealing with, bills of exchange. So check duty must be paid. So let's look a bit further. For the purposes of this section, the expression stamp duty, when used in any act mentioned in Schedule 1 or in any local or private act enforced before the commencement of this, shall, unless the context otherwise requires, include check duty. So stamp duty, check duty, same thing? It would appear that way. It just a play on words by the look of it. Okay, now to find out why we've got ourselves into this situation, we need to look at what money really is. And once again, this is from Bouvier. Gold, silver, and some other less precious metals in the progress of civilization and commerce have become the common standards of value in order to avoid the delay and inconvenience of regulating their weight and quality whenever passed. The governments of the civilized world have caused them to be manufactured in certain portions and marked with a stamp which attests their value. This is called money. Okay? That is what money is: gold, silver, and some other less precious metals. Section 2 of that. For many purposes, banknotes, a cheque, and negotiable notes will be so considered. To support account for money had and received, the receipt by the defendant of banknotes, promissory notes, credit and account in the books of a third person or any chattel is sufficient and will be treated as money. It's not money, but it will be treated as money. So we've got banknotes, cheques, negotiable notes, okay, treated as money. They're not money, but they're treated as money. The Constitution of the United States has vested in Congress the power to coin money and regulate the value thereof. There shall be from time to time struck and coined at the said mint coins of gold, silver, and copper, of the following denominations, values, and descriptions: eagles, each to be of the value of $10, or units, and to contain 247 grains and 4/8 of a grain of pure, or 270 grains of standard gold. Half eagles, each to be of the value of $5, and to contain 123 grains and 6/8 of a pure, or 135 grains of a standard gold. Quarter eagles to be of the value of $2, $2.50, so that's $2.50, and to contain 61 grains and 7/8 of a grain of pure, or 67 grains and 4/8 of a grain of standard gold. So therefore they're telling you that these coins with that amount of gold in are money. Money bills. Now we're getting even more confused. Legislation. This is from legislation. Bills or projects of laws providing for raising revenue and for making grants or appropriations to the public treasure. The first clause of the 7th section of the Constitution of the United States declares, all bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives. Now if you look at what happens in any parliaments or House of Representatives, the first thing they do is they put a bill before the parliament. Now if no one pays that bill, because after it's been passed, after it's had the 3 readings, if no one pays that bill, it then gets put on the population to pay it. But there is a way to pay it. But the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. What bills are properly bills for raising revenue in the sense of the Constitution has been matter of some discussion in practice. The power has been confirmed to levy taxes in the strict sense of the words and has not been understood to extend to bills for other purposes, which may incidentally create revenue. So what they're saying there is that once those bills come through Parliament, if someone does not realise and pay the bill, then we are going to get left with the tab for it, because after 90 days it then becomes the law or the statute, and then we have to pay for it, and then the cops and all the other agencies run out there and collect the revenue from that bill. Okay, now let's look at what a bill is. It comes from the mercantile law: an account containing the items of goods sold or of work done by one person against another. It differs from an account stated in this. The latter is a bill approved and sanctioned by the debtor, whereas a bill is made out by the creditor alone. So say you engage your local plumber or carpenter to do a job for you. That is a bill approved and sanctioned by you, the debtor, whereas a bill is made out by the creditor alone. Okay? And this is how they're catching us. But by now we should be coming to the conclusion that we no longer use money, we use paper, and that paper is used in place of money. So we need to look a little bit further to see how we're going to use this paper correctly, because unfortunately we've not been taught how to correctly deal with the paper and end up in court or paying fines for not dealing with it correctly. So if you realize that everything that is given to you is a presentment, and if you deal with it correctly, it will be paid. Okay, so we'll look at the Bills of Exchange Act, and we'll see that a bill means bills of exchange and note means promissory note. Okay, we'll be relying on this act and the Cheques Act quite a bit during this presentation. Bill of Exchange defined. A bill of exchange is an unconditional order in writing addressed by one person to another. So if you have a letter sent to you, it will be from one person. Now just having their corporate logo in the corner is one person, and they've addressed it to another person, which is you, so that is a bill of exchange. Now it must be signed by the person giving it, requiring the person to whom it is addressed to pay on demand or at a fixed or determinable future time a sum certain in money to or to the order of a specified person or to the bearer. 2. An instrument that does not comply with these conditions or that orders any act to be done in addition to the payment of money is not a bill of exchange. An order to pay out of a particular fund is not unconditional within the meaning of this section, but an unqualified order to pay coupled with an indication of a particular fund out of which the drawee is to reimburse himself, or a particular account to be debited with the amount, or a statement of the transaction giving rise to the bill is unconditional. Now we'll just go back to 3 there. 3A. 3 and 3A. An unqualified order to pay coupled with an indication of a particular fund. Now, if you've received your printout or your birth certificate, you will know the fund number to put on the document. Okay. A bill is not invalid that it is not dated, it does not specify the value given, it does not specify the place where it is drawn, because it is drawn in the Treasury. Capacity of parties. Now, capacity to incur liability as a party to a bill is coextensive with capacity to contract. So in other words, you must be an adult. Provided that nothing in this section shall enable a corporation to make itself liable as a drawer, acceptor, or endorser of a bill, unless it is competent to do so, to do under the law for the time being in force relating to corporations. Now, as we are a corporation or dead at law, we are not really competent. But where a bill is drawn or endorsed by a minor, that is us, because we have never grown to adulthood, by a minor or corporation, have no capacity or power to incur liability on a bill, the drawing or endorsement entitles the holder to receive payment of the bill and to enforce it against any other parties thereto. Okay, so what happens as a minor? We sign it, send the bill back to them. They are entitled to go to our trust account and receive payment for it. And that's what we're going to be doing. Saving, Section 98 of the Bills of Exchange Act, the rules of common law, including the law merchant, save insofar as that they are inconsistent with the express provisions of this Act, shall continue to apply to bills of exchange, promissory notes, and cheques. Nothing in this Act shall affect the provisions of the Stamp and Cheque Duties Act, or any law in it or enactment for the time being enforced relating to the revenue. The provisions of the Companies Act 1995. Okay, 1955, sorry. Okay, now, they're telling us here that the Stamp and Cheque Duties Act is very important. So we need to start having a look and seeing what the Stamp and Cheque Duties Act says. Section 78 says rates of cheque duty. Cheque duty shall be computed at the rate of 5 cents per bill of exchange. Okay, that's all. You put a 5 cent stamp on it. Check duty prepaid on bill of exchange forms under Section 8 shall be computed at the rate of 5 cents per form. That doesn't concern us, that's for the corporates. Stamp and Check Duties Act, Section 84. Check duty payable otherwise than under a license. This section applies to all bills of exchange for which check duty has not been prepaid in accordance with Section 81. So you can guarantee that what we receive as a presentment has not had the check duty prepaid. So in this section, duly stamped means affixing a postage stamp or stamps on the face of the bill of exchange for the amount of the check duty payable on the bill. Okay, now we know that that's 5 cents, so we have to put a 5 cent stamp on it. B, effectively cancelling each postage stamp so as to render it incapable of being used again. So you just need to put an X on it or put your initials on it, and stating on the bill the true date of cancellation. So we put a date stamp on the date that we cancel it. Postage stamp has the same meaning as in Section 2.1 of the Postal Services Act. Right, let's examine a real-life example of a bill of exchange. And the first thing that we notice is statement. So I guess you all know what statement means? Or maybe not. So let's have a look. A written list of transactions noting money owed and money paid. A detailed statement of mutual demands arising out of a contract or a fiduciary relationship. We are in a fiduciary relationship and we have people looking after our trust accounts. So we are in a fiduciary relationship. An account can simply list payments, losses, sales, debits, credits, and other monetary transactions, or it may go further and show a balance or the results of comparing opposite transactions like purchases and sales. Business persons keep accounts. Attorneys may keep escrow accounts, and now this is what we want, and executors must keep accounts that record transactions in administering an estate. So the executors are administering our deceased estate, and so this is why they're sending statements to us. Now they want us to fill them out correctly and send them back. We haven't been doing that, folks. Very naughty of us, but let's see if we can do something about that. Okay, the next item we see is payment advice. Now, as we've not been able to make payments since 1933, we need to look at the reverse side to see how we make payments. See, right down the bottom it says instructions on how to pay your credit card bill can be viewed on the reverse. Okay. Now most people just jump straight to the other side, see an amount there and go and pay it. But I can assure you that they will never ever write the correct amount in there. They will only ever put numbers with that funny little S with a line through it. So they're not being deceitful, they're just omitting certain items. So let's look at the back now and see what we can do. And the first part we'll see, I'll make it a bit bigger here so you can see. How to pay your credit card bill. Pay by automatic payment or direct debit. You can set this up at any ASB branch or by calling 0800 blah blah blah. Now the part that we want, send your payment by post. There's the first clue. Payment. If we want to make payment, we must send it by post. Send the payment advice, that's the slip above there. Slip from your statement with your check. It is also your check. So it's your payment advice and it's also your check. To the ASB Bank Limited, Payments, PO Box 35 Shortland Street, Auckland. Please write your credit card account number and name on reverse of your check. They've given us the clue there. So that's what we're going to be doing, folks. Let's have a look a little bit more before we jump into filling out our bill. So the Bills of Exchange at Section 39 tells us, when presentment for acceptance is necessary, number 1, where a bill is payable after sight, presentment for acceptance is necessary in order to fix the maturity of the instrument. that means that they have to present it to us. So where a bill expressly stipulates that it shall be presented for acceptance, or where a bill is drawn payable elsewhere. Now this is payable elsewhere because it's payable in the Treasury. So where a bill is drawn payable elsewhere, then at the residence or place of business of the drawee, it must be presented for acceptance before it can be presented for payment. So because it must go to the Treasury for payment, they must present it to us first for acceptance before we can before they can present it for payment. So if we do it wrong, then we don't get payment. Okay, so they must send it to us or present it to us, and we must accept it before it can be presented for payment. I hope you got that. The business of the drawee is the Treasury, I can assure you. They are therefore presenting us with the bill for payment. So let's take payment of the bill correctly. Not with these. Discharge of a bill. Okay, now this is what we want. Payment in due course. A bill is discharged by payment in due course by or on behalf of the drawee or acceptor. Okay, so they've sent it to us for acceptance. Now we must accept that if we want it to be discharged and paid. So payment in due course means payment to the holder of the bill made at or after the maturity thereof in good faith and without notice that the holder's title is defective. Now the holder's title will be defective because they have the title over us. Okay, subject to the provisions herein contained, when a bill is paid by the drawer or endorser, it is not discharged, but where a bill payable to or to the order of a third party, okay, payable to or to the order of a third party. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is John Doe, the real man, is going to be ordering the third party, which is the straw man. Okay, do you get that? We're a bill payable to or to the order of a third party. So John Doe, the real man, will order John Doe, the straw man, to pay. Is paid by the drawer. The drawer may enforce payment thereof against the acceptor, but may not reissue the bill. Where a bill is paid by an endorser, or where a bill is payable to the drawer's order, is paid by the drawer. The party paying it is remitted to his former rights as regards the acceptor or antecedent parties, and may, if he thinks fit, strike out his own and subsequent endorsements and again negotiate the bill. Right, now here we go. Where an accommodation bill is paid in due course by the party accommodated, the bill is discharged. Okay, so we need to accept, if you go right back to the top of the page there, if we accept it as the acceptor by accommodation, the bill is discharged. So they've sent it to us to accept. We accept it by accommodation. The bill is discharged. I hope that's clear enough. Alteration of a bill. Where a bill or acceptance is materially altered without the assent of all parties liable on the bill. Now there's only two parties liable on the bill. That's the real man and the straw man. Okay, so where a bill of acceptance is materially altered without the assent of all parties liable on the bill. Can the straw man say anything? No, so you're the only party that can. The bill is avoided except as against a party who has himself made, authorised or assented to the alteration and subsequent endorses, provided that where a bill has been materially altered, but the alteration is not apparent, and the bill is in the hands of a holder in due course, such holder may avail himself of the bill as if it had not been altered, and may enforce payment of it according to its original tenor. In particular, the following alterations are material, namely, any alteration of the date, the sum payable, time of payment, place of payment, where a bill has been accepted generally, the addition of a place of payment without the acceptor's assent. Okay, now we are going to be altering the bill. We're going to be altering the sum payable. So the alteration of a bill, you need to know this to alter it. Okay, acceptance for honour super protest. Where a bill of exchange has been protested for dishonour by non-acceptance, okay, if we don't accept it, they can protest it for non-acceptance. So we need to look at a bill may be accepted for honour for part only of the sum for which it is drawn, okay, and we will be doing part only, I can assure you. An acceptance for honour super protest, in order to be valid, must be written on the bill and indicate that it is an acceptance for honour and be signed by the acceptor for honour. Where an acceptance for honour does not expressly state for whose honour it is made, it is deemed to be an acceptance for the honour of the drawer. Where a bill payable after sight is accepted for honour, its maturity is calculated from the date of the noting for non-acceptance and not from the date of the acceptance for honour. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at our payment check, and now needs to be detached and filled out correctly. See, please tear here. They're telling you this is your check. You need to pay your check duty, so tear it off there, and let's go about doing this now. Here we go. There's our consideration. We're paying valuable consideration of $1. So we put a New Zealand $1 stamp, or wherever you are. Now you must not deface this, because that is the payment. Then we pay our stamp duty. There it is there, 5 cents. We saw that before. Now we've defaced it by putting initials on it, and we've put a date stamp on it, being the 3rd of March 2013. Now I made a mistake here, so I hope you forgive me, but write $1 here, because that is the consideration that we have paid, and that is the amount that we must write there. So write $1 New Zealand dollar only, or $1 American dollar, $1 Australian dollar, whatever it is that you are. Okay, so have a good look at that. That is the way that you fill out the check. Now, we saw before, from the bottom line above, please write your credit card account number and name on reverse of your check. So this is the reverse of the check. So up the top there, we've written our credit card number, and we've written John Henry Doe. Okay, all the payment instructions are there. We've just never bothered to read them correctly. So now it says, please write your credit card account number and name on reverse of your check. So we've done that. So that takes care of the check. So now we've just got 2 more things to check up before we finish this. An accommodation party to a bill is a person who has signed a bill as drawer, acceptor, that's us, or endorser without receiving value therefore, and for the purpose of lending his name to some other person. We already know who that other person is. That's our straw man. 2, an accommodation party. All right, so now we know we're acceptor and we're doing it by accommodation. An accommodation party is liable on the bill to a holder for value, and it is immaterial when such holder took the bill, he knew such party to be an accommodation party or not. Okay, so we're going to be doing it by accommodation. 3, bill of exchange defined. Now this is from the Bills of Exchange Act. 3b, a statement of the transaction giving rise to the bill is unconditional. Okay, we've already gone through that, but we'll check this out again now here. From a previous slide, a statement giving rise to the account, making it unconditional. There you go, that's the statement, and that will make the whole thing unconditional. Also from the previous slide, we have signed as acceptor by accommodation. I have done a little modification at the end of this after reading a bit more thoroughly, and you'll see that a bit later. Okay, now how to make your credit card payment. Now send it off to the address listed on the back, and you have made payment. There we go, PO Box 35 Shorten Street, Auckland. Okay, so this, it says up the top there, right up there, how to pay your credit card bill. So if we follow those instructions, we have now paid the bill. And as I was saying, here's my afterthought now. I think it might be better, or it certainly wouldn't hurt, to write accepted for value, paid to the order of John Doe, in accordance satisfaction with Bills of Exchange Act 1908, by accommodation, John Doe. Now, I certainly hope that this helps with paying all those bills, and please share this with everyone else and help them to pay their bills. Have a good day.